I start off with the acknowledgement, land acknowledgement. We acknowledge and appreciate the land on which we gather is the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq First Nation. Declarations of conflict of interest. Any declarations? Okay, Councillor Duran, Councillor Beck.
No, I don't, sir.
Okay, so both Councillor Duran and Councillor Beck are calling in, and Councillor Bernard, I believe, will be arriving late, and Councillor McCabe is at the school meet the teacher night. Approval of the agenda, we have for A, B, C, and I think a D, and 5. I need someone to move. Moved by Councillor Ramsey, second by Councillor Matard. Everyone in favor?
In favor?
Councillor Beck? Are you there, Councillor Beck? He's probably muted. Okay, we have quorum, so we can move ahead. So tonight's meeting, there are, as I said, 4 applications. The first application, 33 Morrow Drive, PID number 366997. Michael Fraser is the developer, he's the planner presenting, and Ted Walsh and B. Doyle Holdens. Are they here? Mr. Walsh? Okay, if you want to come up here and sit at the table. Is it just yourself? Are you Mr. Walsh? Okay. Second one, 7 McKinnon Road, PID number 374215. Our staff member, David Gundrum, he will be doing the presentation on behalf of the city. And the presenter is Amr Hossein. Is that correct? Amr Hossein? Is he here? Amr Hossein Raberi. Okay, we'll just have to wait if he arrives. Third one is 171-181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, 555177. David Gundrum will be doing the presentation on behalf of the city. Archwork Studio Inc., Carrie Boswell. Is Carrie here? Okay, Carrie, so you'll be the third up. And the last is the on-address parcels adjacent to 55 Pope Avenue, PID number 452839. Again, Mr. Gundrum, busy night for Mr. Gundrum. He will be presenting on behalf of the city. Tiny Tots Daycare Farm Tech Inc. Is anyone there? Anyone here from that group? Okay. So we are back in in-person meetings. And if you do get up to speak, please, if you have to take the mic off the stand, do so, because all our meetings are publicly broadcasted and archived. There is a live stream camera on. Just give your name, if you want to give your address, or where you're from, Charlottetown, Stratford, Cornwall, etc. And if you want to do follow up on it, it is on our website, charlottetown.ca/video. And as I said, we have all councillors here except Councillor Bernard and Councillor McCabe. Our planning board members are not here. And Jason, do we have anyone joining in on Teams?
Couple people, but I'm not sure.
So if they do come in, they just have to present themselves.
They can respond if their microphone's on when you get an opportunity.
Okay. I'm now going to turn it over to Deputy Mayor Alana Yankoff, and she is the Chair of Planning, Development, and Heritage, and she'll start it off. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and good evening, all you folks, for coming out this evening. Just to kind of go over the process just briefly. So there'll be a brief presentation by staff and then by the applicants. And staff will have 5 minutes and the applicant will have 10 to give the presentation. After that, we'll open it up to the general public if they wish to ask questions, and followed by those that are calling in on Teams, if there's any folks out there that want to also ask questions to either the planning department or to the applicant. And I just remind everyone, when you do get up to the mic, just remember that we do have a strict 5-minute policy, because there's a lot of folks here that will want an opportunity to speak. So we ask that everyone respect that time limit. After that is all done, then any council members that are looking for clarity on the process, they are also here to seek that clarity. We are just, as councillors, we have to be very mindful, though, to remain neutral until the process is completed. So if you're wondering why councillors aren't passing any judgment, is because that is the process, so we remain neutral until which time it is time for us to vote. So when it does come time to get up and say a few words, just be respectful if it's not your turn and somebody maybe is saying something that you may not necessarily agree or disagree with. So just keep that nice, respectful decorum going, which I'm sure we won't have any issues with that. The other thing, just a reminder, anyone that chooses not to ask any questions but does want to get their questions and concerns on the public record, you do have until tomorrow at noon to submit to the planning department. And other than that, I will move it, send it back over to His Worship to complete the agenda items. So thank you so much, everyone.
Also want to introduce Mike Russ, who is our Director of Integrated Growth. He's sitting next to David, so he oversees the Planning, Development, and Heritage Department. And to my right, to your left, is our CAO, Eleanor Mohammed, who is also a registered professional planner. So lots of planners in the room tonight. So, David,
Your Worship,
yes?
Your Worship, just I want to let you know I will be actually there in attendance shortly.
Okay,
I've been working, able to move things around, so I will be there shortly. I'll just continue listening online until I get there.
yep, we have quorum, so we can move ahead. Thank you, sir. So we'll start with Morrow Drive, and is Mr. Fraser, do you want to, or who am I, is it Mr. Ted Walsh? Do you want to present first, or do you want David? Good, okay, Michael, you present first.
Hello. Thank you, Deputy Mayor and Mayor. I appreciate your time here today. I'm here to present and solicit feedback regarding 33 Morrow Drive, which is a rezoning request sought to accommodate a stacked townhouse development. 33 Morrow Drive has submitted the applicant has submitted a request to rezone 33 Morrow Drive, the subject property, from R2 to R3T to allow for a proposed stacked townhouse development totaling 5 units on the site. The development proposal is seeking to rezone, intended to facilitate the development of a stacked townhouse development. A stacked townhouse development has units that are on top of each other, so one unit on top of another on site, whereas the property is currently being used as a single detached dwelling, as is common in the area. The property is on a corner residential lot located in the northeast corner of the intersection of Morrow Drive and North River Road. Located in the low-density residential R2 zone and adjacent to established residential uses. Subject property contains a single-story, single-detached dwelling and a detached garage and has been present on the site for many years. The site is surrounded by predominantly low-density residential uses of R1S, R1L, R2, and R2S zones. Regarding the official plan, it supports a mix of housing forms within existing neighborhoods to allow for housing choice. A variety of housing choices within neighborhoods are important as they provide options for the needs of different people at various stages of their life. And it is supported in sections 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 of the official plan. As part of the legislative requirements for applications, the city approved a request to proceed to public consultation on August 13th. Section 3.10.4 of the zoning development bylaw states that a letter need to be mailed and was sent to all property owners within 100 meters, 328 feet of the subject property on September 6th, being a minimum of 7 calendar days prior to the public hearing date. A total of 49 letters were sent to residents advising them of the public meeting to solicit comments and feedback. 5 responses have been received, with 0 in support and 5 in opposition. Residents have until noon tomorrow to send further feedback. And that's the end. I'll pass it over for applicants.
Mr. Walsh, can you just press the button on the speaker button there. To the right. Okay, go ahead.
Thanks. I don't really have.
Just bring it close. Yeah, but he might want to say something.
I don't have a presentation, but I just wanted to speak a couple words about the project and our intent on what we wanted to do with this site. For one, we see a big need for housing and affordable housing. And from my perspective, this is an excellent lot for redevelopment. I lived in Calgary and Saskatoon and would live there during periods where they had a lot of growth. And when they had a new growth plan similar to what Charlottetown has now, so it's very much in line. And we selected this lot based on all that criteria that Charlottetown has in their growth plan. This lot being on transportation corridor with lots of bus routes, close to employment opportunities like at the Superstore and the shopping complex in West Royalty, close to all three school levels, junior or elementary, junior high, and high school, as well as UPEI, and recreation facilities like Simmons Arena. And this lot in particular, it was underserviced, we thought, with a smaller, lower spec house that needed a lot of work to upgrade, really, to make it, decent accommodations for anyone. And within the current bylaws, this property, with the building we propose, is really the same scale as we would build if it was a duplex, with the setbacks from the front, back, and sides. So the scale of the building isn't much different from the duplex that would be allowed to be built on there, only that it can accommodate more people, which I think would, I got a sense knocking on doors the last couple of days of what things are important to the community there. And I think the biggest thing was the sense of the community and that this building didn't belong there because of the scale of it and the number of people living there. But I did get a sense of the community, and I did feel like, I saw everyone kind of rallying together. Unfortunately, it was against this proposal, but I did see that strong sense of community, and I think anyone living in that building will be lucky to live in a community like that. So, and also that this is one of the other features we were looking for on this property, or looking for in a property, was on a corner lot, that it gave more flexibility on the type of building that could be built, and that the quick access to North River Road, I think that was one of the other concerns of the residents, that it would bring a lot of traffic to that area, but I feel like it would actually probably bring less traffic. If the residents were living further out of Charlottetown and traveling in on North River Road, they would all be traveling by car, and all that traffic would be fed down that corridor, whereas now, being on bus routes, maybe there'll be less traffic down North River Road, and certainly less traffic on Morrow. I feel strongly that this is a good project, and this would be the first project that my company would be developing, and it's something we want to really do a good job on and add to the community, certainly not take away from it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Welch. So the mic is open. You'll see that we have a timer there, and it's just to time anyone that is up speaking. There is a soft alarm to it, so when you do hit your 5 minutes, it will ring quietly. So please come up to the podium, and please turn on the mic, just if you want to take it out of the... And just give your name and where you live. Just 1 second.
Test. Hey, my name is Justin. I live on Morrow Drive. I'm just wondering, I'm talking with members of the community, especially on Morrow Drive and the neighboring Queen Elizabeth. No one seems to know what the process is once this public consultation is passed. We're just wondering, generally speaking, does it come down to a vote of the councillors, or does it come up to the planning department? We're just wondering if you could explain that. And we're also concerned, one of the big concerns is that it's going to set a precedence for further rezoning. So the entire area is going to turn into 5 plexes, which nobody wants. Also, the picture, it looked like it was all side by side, but you said it was stacked. I'm just confused on
Yeah,
that
so
definition. And are these planned to be sold as condos, or are they going to be rentals? I'm just wondering what the plan is for that 5-plex. Justin, yes.
Justin, could you just give us your last name, please?
Jason?
Jason. Deputy, do you want to explain the process? And we'll explain that first, Justin. Deputy?
Thanks, Justin, for your questions. I can explain the process for you. So tonight is, we're at the stage of the process where council has approved for this public consultation meeting to take place. So this evening, the staff will compile all of the information that they hear this evening, coupled with the information that they've received from other letters and other letters that will come right up until tomorrow. They will then take that information back with applying their planning principles to the process, and a planning board meeting then will take place once planning staff complete the process. Planning board will meet, and that's a combination of councillors that sit on the Planning and Heritage Committee, along with the resident members, and that's called Planning Board. It's open to the public, for the public to come and listen, and that's where the planning staff will give the planning board a recommendation to either recommend this to council or recommend to not recommend this to council. Planning board will then deliberate and either accept staff's recommendation or not. Either way, then it returns to the next council meeting, and that's where council will deliberate, discuss, and then ultimately have the final vote on the process. So that's the process. And before they address the other questions, if you have any other questions on the process, feel free to shoot them at me.
So, Justin, just to make it clear, if you do get up, please stay up at the mic, because we're allowing one person per time opportunity, so that we can get through the number of people that are here. So, is that clear to you, the process?
Just to a point, we're just wondering how much influence the public consultation and the members of the community actually have on this decision. So I see you guys wrote that there's only 5 people that wrote in, all in opposition. Is it required that we all, like, are you guys tallying up the numbers? Is this like a statistics type thing where you want to know how many people abstained, how many people voted for and against? And is that being used to tally up how that's going to be influenced? Like, for example, so Kevin's our guy. We're all going to tell Kevin no, and he's going to vote. Like, that goes up to the planning board. We're just wondering how that creeps up, and is there any influence that we can actually sway one way or the other?
So, Justin, I'm going to take a stab at that, and then I'm going to probably turn that over to Michael, one of our planners, just to ensure that I've covered all the bases. Public input and public consultation is extremely important to the process. That's why we have it. It's all part of the Planning Act. The planning staff will take the information that they hear, and it's one piece of the large puzzle that they use to deliberate and come up with their recommendation. And so, that being said, it is very important that the folks are out here, because that's, it's your community, so we need to hear from folks in the community. But Michael, if I don't mean to put you on the spot, if you have anything else to add in terms of planning principle on the importance of the public hearing component of the application.
So you can, Michael or David, but Michael, can you go? Yep, go ahead.
Absolutely. So we end up using, I would say, kind of, if I was to understand the crux of your question, the qualitative, what is happening here, is one of the most critical parts, because after this, we write a report, right? So we write something that's going to summarize everything we learned, everything that, our policy review, everything along those lines. So, like, in terms of 500 people complained versus 5, it really comes down to what was the complaint, what was the issue, what were we able to actually learn from the feedback we received? Because though we create a recommendation and we vote, those are like 3 or 4 different kind of ways of of this being approved or parts of the approval process. And so we will be reviewing parts that we receive throughout the process, so will councillors and so will planning board. And so it's just important to make sure that there's actually qualitative things that are the issue here that are understood, so that we can work that into our reporting, work that into our consideration. Those are kind of the keyest piece, I would say.
Justin, do you want more clarification? If you do, look, just, we can provide it because I think it's an important point to make. A lot of people that do come up here wonder how the process works.
Hands up if you understood that. Did anybody understand?
Just, yeah.
I guess maybe, is there something online that we could look up and we could discuss? Like, it's just something, like, we're wondering what the steps are. Like, if Kevin votes against it, and then everybody else votes against it, and it still goes up to the planning, like, is there any reason? Like, some people think it's almost a foregone conclusion that it's going to happen because of, we don't really know. We're just wondering how much influence we actually have on this. And I understand the process. I get the gist of what you said. It's just still unclear how public consultation weighs in on this. You said this for a fact come into play. So we're curious. If the process goes through and it gets approved, it's like leads up to the second question of the precedents being set for future 5-unit apartments going up around the neighborhood, which we want to mitigate that.
Deputy, do you want to take another? No, no.
Sure. So and just to go from the last step backwards, the very last thing that happens is council votes on this. And that's when you refer to your councillor, because he doesn't sit on the planning board, that time will come at the very final step of the process. The package will be very detailed and have all of the information in there. And I think what Michael meant in terms of, weighing the input from public information and what we hear from the public. For example, if everybody stood up and said, yeah, we don't want something there because we don't like the color yellow, we all know that would not hold any weight. But if you look at the official plan, you look at the zoning and development bylaw, they're all online. Those will define for you some really good specific reasons why this can or cannot be a favorable recommendation or an unfavorable recommendation, depending on that. And I hope that gives a little bit more clarity. And the direct links to zoning and development and the official plan are super simple to find on the website. And if you have any difficulty, you can reach out to the staff and they'll send direct links right away.
So there are good reasons that would make sense to not go for, not move forward with it. And there's other reasons like we don't want the color yellow, or we just don't want it because it's going to ruin our neighborhood. That type of thing, like subjective versus objective, and like qualitative versus just us not wanting it, I guess. So
I think
if there's a list of items that we could look at and maybe put forward as a concern, if there's like examples that we could look at and use, that would be helpful if that is online versus just us taking shots in the dark.
Sure. If the folks don't mind me putting them on the spot, we have Michael, our planner, we have our manager of planning and development, we also have our director of planning here. So not to put you folks on the spot, but if you have anything else to shed any more light on this for Justin and the folks that are here, that would be great.
And Justin, I think the deputies made it clear, tonight we don't vote on it. Tonight we just listen, and then this information goes back to the planning department. Planning department will be at the next planning board meeting. That's a combination of residential members and councillors. They'll present their recommendation. It'll be discussed here, and then that recommendation will be voted on by the planning board and go up to council. That's the simple part of the process. Any more intricate parts? David, do you want to add to it?
Yeah, through your worship, I just to address Justin's questions a bit further. So when we do our evaluation, it's based partly on the public input, partly on what councillors had to say at the public meeting tonight. But a big one is the potential land use impacts from putting that much density, in this case, on a site like that. And so a lot of it revolves around land use impacts, so impacts to traffic, private, quiet, peaceful enjoyment of private property that surrounds the subject property. Those are some key ones, like noise, any nuisance impacts are a big piece of our evaluation. So if people speak to the land use impact side of things in their public response, those are really the things that we take to heart in our recommendation. At the end of the day, council is the approval authority on the application. We just provide our own planning opinion on that, but we do take into account what the public has to say if there are relevant land use concerns around compatibility of the new use. Just one thing I'll mention about the precedence piece. If we do have future applications that come forward even in the immediate area, we never look to a past decision to guide future decisions. So when we evaluate an application, it's purely based on the merits of that application to itself, and we don't look to past decisions. There's no common law that applies here in terms of our evaluation. So I just wanted to make that clear to everybody. Thanks.
Justin, do you want to clarify?
That does answer the precedence question, I guess. I do think that is one of the main concerns. If we went up there, the floodgates being opened is a primary concern amongst everybody that I've spoken to from, the 3 or 4 streets around Morrow that I went around to. I got no further questions on that.
Listen, thank you.
But I was asking about the stack versus the.
Yeah, and
then-
just stand there and leave the mic on, because Jason told me to leave it on. Todd?
So the stacked townhouses, rather than all being linear in order, they can be stacked one above each other or one behind each other. So in this case, there's one above each other on either end of the building, and then the middle, it's a single unit that has 2 floors. So for a total of 5 units in the stacked townhouse. And the intention is to have them as rentals. And it came up about the official plan and the growth plan. This lot was selected because of it being on that, I think what's in line with the city's growth plan, which is only a draft at this point. And if anyone hasn't read it, I would encourage them to do and get a sense of how the city plans to mindfully grow. And from my interpretation of it, it's not at all to go into residential areas. It's to stay along, again, the transportation corridors and a few designated areas, not into any random neighborhood or street.
So it is planned rentals?
It is.
And you
yeah.
had mentioned affordable housing. Do you guys have forecasted, what are you is it actually going to be
Not necessarily
affordable?
affordable housing in the sense of any program, but, we want to,
price-wise, is it actually, you
I
got
think it would be
to pay the bills and stuff, but.
it'd be based on the market rate for rentals and sort of the projected,
So
based on the
not-
construction costs and all that,
Yeah.
but it's not
necessarily affordable housing.
with the, it's not part of the affordable housing program.
It's okay. I just wanted to clarify that because that was also mentioned. Okay. All right. No further
Thank you,
questions.
and listen, thank you for the clarification. Todd, when you're talking, you have to speak because it's being recorded publicly. Deputy?
And Justin, I just wanted to add one thing I was remiss in mentioning, that although the final process is council's vote and decision, if folks are not happy with council's decision, anybody has an opportunity to appeal to IRAC on applications like this. So there is another step that takes completely outside of council's decision, and IRAC will reevaluate based on the planning department staff as well as council's decision. So there is that step that comes at the other end as well.
Okay. Councillor McAleer, do you have a question to clarification?
No, it was more of a comment, if I could. And I think it may help Justin and other residents. And I don't sit in planning. I'm not a planner, but I know all committee meetings and all council meetings are live streamed. There's a camera up there. So this process, right, as I think I understand it, staff will make a recommendation. Will go to the planning committee. That committee meeting, when it meets, it'll be live streamed. and, folks watch that. I think that that's an excellent vehicle to understand how that's debated and talked about. So that's just for those that want to think about that or not familiar, that it's another information piece.
Okay. So please use the opportunity to go to the open mic. Just give us your name. Yeah, but you want to record it. Yeah, it's all right. She can turn it on there. Yeah, just turn it on. Turn it on. Yeah, just yeah, leave that.
Yeah.
Just gonna leave it on now. Just need to turn it on one time. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. My name is Shirley McQuaid, and I live on North Queen Elizabeth Drive. And I have lived in my home since 1993, and I love the area because of the peace and quiet. And yes, I know things can't stay the same forever, but there's common sense, I think, and values involved here. I see in a small area, a large building being put up. I don't live on that street, but I really feel bad for the houses that are nearby the new place. Yes, it'll look lovely for the next 10 years or so, but we all know what happens as time goes by. So my concern is, and I haven't heard anything, is how many bedrooms? I'm hearing it's 2. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm hearing that there's only 1 parking spot. If that's so, we all know where the rest of the cars will be. And I'm hearing there's no visitors parking space. Again, where will these cars go? That concerns me a lot. The traffic increase, I do believe it's going to increase. You don't put 1 home and then put 5 homes in the same place and say the traffic will go down. To me, that just doesn't add up. Also, I'm wondering about definitely the increase on traffic on Morrow and on my street. Also, the value of your homes is something like this for the people nearby. Is this going to increase their value? I don't think so. If I was looking for a house, the last thing I'd do would be buying one on Morrow Drive on the top. The invasion they're having. I think, again, I'm not living there, but there's going to be this 5-unit area around them where they're used to 1 little house. And I think that's quite an invasion of your privacy. Also, the amount of noise and racket and going on when it's being made, which is a problem when you're in an area where there's homes and not just more like business areas. Parking space. I'm just reading what I have here. And as for it's supposed to be lower income rentals, what exactly is called low income? You said it was based on something. Does that mean it's going to be $1,200 or $2,200? Like, there's a big difference in what people call low income these days. So again, I'd like an answer about how many bedrooms, how many parking spaces, is there visitors parking spaces? Is it going to affect the value of people on other streets? I know it's going to affect the value on Morrow, especially the top. So if someone could speak on that, I'd really appreciate it, because I'm here for my neighbors, not for myself.
Thank you, Shirley. Mr. Walsh, did you want to address some of those questions? And I think
I left that.
turn on your mic on, hot mic.
So again, to speak about the size and scale of it, it is a slab-on-grade construction, probably, or it will be a slab-on-grade construction. So the main floor will not be high off the ground, and it's a simple 8-foot wall floors and a simple, roof construction. So it won't be a high building. And again, the scale of it is within the guidelines or setbacks for any structure that could be built there. So if somebody wanted to build a large single-family home, they could build at the same size as this proposed 5-unit townhouse. So again, the scale is within the guidelines and within what anyone could build on that site or any other lot in Charlottetown. And as far as the tenants or what tenants we're proposing to or their income, this is not a low income. I'm not sure if that was mentioned by someone in the past, but it's market rents. You know, whoever wants to rent in this, anybody's who can afford the rent based at, you know, the whatever normal rents are for rentals in that area. And parking, so there is parking for each unit, depending if it was small cars, like the driveway will be, you know, perhaps long enough for 2 small cars, but it's certainly, there's parking for a vehicle for every unit. And as I said, the middle unit, it does have a garage in it, so, you know, there's two parking stalls at least for that unit. And again, being that this is the proximity to all of the, you know, the features around there, some of these residents may not have cars, probably not have 2 cars. And that's, you know, that's why we selected this neighborhood, because of that kind of reason. And there's no plans for visitor parking on the site. So any visitors, I guess, may park on the street. The same way as they would now. And bedrooms, each unit is a 2-bedroom, so there would be a total of 10 bedrooms in the building. And I can't comment on value of the property or neighboring properties, but you know, I don't think it negatively impacts, or certainly not significantly, any new developments. And neighbors typically, not on this scale anyway, you know, this is not a 50-unit building or anything. It's still only a single lot, not combining any lots. So the scale, I wouldn't expect it would affect the neighboring property values at all. Certainly not well down the street or across the street or anything.
From staff, any opinions on that, David or Mike or Mike? I don't know if we can answer that on values affected, or Deputy, do you want?
I don't think there's really anything more I can add to those comments. I think the applicant covered the question of rents, whether it's under any kind of affordable housing program, which he concluded it's not. He addressed what he has for parking, whether or not that is acceptable for when the planning staff deliberate or not. I'm not sure. If there's anything, Michael, that you wanted to add in response to her questions?
Thank you. The only thing I thought I would mention is that the parking requirement is met by the proposal. So the one parking space per unit is the requirement for this area.
And I'll just also add that the setbacks on the front of the building is 20 feet, and then there's the city space or the boulevard, which I think is almost 15 feet. So the driveway would be almost 35 feet long. So the driveways would be almost 35 feet long, so potentially space for 2 cars to park lengthwise.
Thank you. And again, Todd, just try to be as close to that mic as possible. You're not using it, just turn it off, because we don't want to hear you making comments under your breath. Okay, we're open for the, okay, just come right up there. Darius, hello.
Mr. Mayor. Darcy Bell, Morrow. My question was, I have one for the council, was parking or not registration requirements, because I do know that there are other duplexes and townhouses in town where they're not allowed parking on the road at all due to snow removal and congestion on the road. Now, Morrow, where the proposal is already congested enough with cars being there in the summer and springtime, the fall. In the wintertime, if you get renters there who are renting and someone has more than one car, as you said, Mr. Welsh, then if they're on this road how is that, like, is this going to be police? Is it going to be regular? Are there going to be people there to move their cars? Like, I just thought that there was always parking, that the city had strict parking restrictions at certain times of the year. That's what my question, one of my questions is for the council. I do have a question for you. My other question for you is that people that are living there, is there going to be property management? Is there going to be people coming by? Like, if there's students or people living there that have 4 or 5 cars, and 2 people do have their cars parked in the driveway, but 2 people are parked on the road all the time, is there someone going to be there that's going to be saying, hey, where do they park or where do they put their car? Because I know that you can rent to anybody, but if someone has a car and they want to rent there, you can't really say, oh, no, you can't live here because you have a car. So that's my problem, is that where, with that tight area, where are we going to be able, like, where are they going to put their car? Like, where are they going to be moving to move their vehicle? Because I don't think they're going to park at Co-op Field or Superstore or anywhere around. They're going to try to park their car in that area, or it could be in front of someone's house, front of someone's driveway. And anybody who lives on Morrow could probably say in the wintertime, trying to get up there around cars parked on the road is a task it is. So we just want to know if somebody is going to stay on top of this, if this does get approved, or if this is going to be the people of Morrow and the people living on the road dealing with this constantly. That's just my question. So first question is for council.
I will turn it over to the deputy, and then Todd, you can answer this second.
So thank you very much for that question. In terms of parking, as Michael had pointed out, it does meet the standards of parking requirements that is required in this type of an application. When it comes to snow removal, the same rules and standards for all city streets adhere after, I think it's December 1st, where cars can't be on the streets after a certain time for snow removal. When it comes to enforcement, the enforcement part of any parking restrictions comes down to the city, and that enforcement piece is your police services. So if you live anywhere and somebody is parked where they shouldn't be, and then it's complaint driven. So if the street's being congested and nobody can get in their driveways, then unfortunately the onus is on folks to complain to protective services, and then the enforcement piece then comes into play from the city of Charlottetown.
Thank you very much. My only problem was that there has been, I know this last couple winters, there has been cars that have not been ticketed or towed, and the plows have just gone around them, and it leaves a pile of snow over their car. So especially at the top of the road where it's congested enough, having a car on the side of the road, the pile of snow on top of it will not be part of the solution. It would definitely be adding on to the problem, was my question for that regarding.
Yep, and that's a really good point. I think we've heard that complaint many times throughout the city, that we do probably need to be a little stricter when it comes to our enforcement piece, so I appreciate that comment. Thank you.
And Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Walsh,
Walsh.
turn on your mic, please.
If there's a property manager, yes, so I'm property manager. My business partner is a property manager of several rental buildings. We will certainly manage it because we will own this building, and we will be careful to respect the quiet and peace enjoyment of the tenants our tenants in the building, but also want to be respectful to our neighbors. So, if there's any problems with any tenants, for our own and our tenants, we would certainly make every effort to deal with that. As far as the parking, other than providing ample parking on site, we wouldn't be able to police any parking on the street in any way. So that would be up to the city and bylaw officer to enforce that.
Thank you. Thank you, council. Mayor.
Thank you, Darcy. So the mic is open.
My name is Willie Doyle, and I live at 5 Morrow Drive. And I'd like that building picture put back up there, if you don't mind. A little bigger? So right off the bat, you people are saying that the building that would be there, if it was just going to be a duplex, would be the same length as that building. And my question to you is, on North River Road, that white unit you have in the end, that's in behind the fire hydrant now that's there. So coming off North River Road or going onto North River Road, your sight line is going to be definitely obstructed from view of the traffic coming in North River Road at 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock in the morning when it's heavy. Same thing going out the street on North River Road. You're going to have a lot of traffic, and you're not going to have a sight line to see what's coming or what's going. Plus, my next question to you is snow removal. Where do you plan on putting your snow for those 5 driveways? I mean, you're taking up all the streets, the curb's gone, so you can't pile it there. There's a fire hydrant at the back, at the corner at the top of the street, so you can't pile the snow on top of the fire hydrant. So are you going to haul the snow away? Because you definitely don't have property there to stack it. I mean, and on the back of the property, if it's the same as what the building is now, the house, it's single dwelling house that's there, excuse me, on that property, there's only 6 feet or maybe 8 feet at the back of the property to the property line. So then if you put patios in the back of those property lines, I thought a patio had to be back from the property line by 5 to 6 feet. So you're not going to get much property to build a patio in the back of each one of those units. So I'm a little concerned about that. And if you do have more than 5 cars there and they're parked in the driveway there, what's going to happen when the city decides to put a sidewalk down there? Where's the second car going to go then? Because I know for a fact that the city's been looking to put sidewalks down Morrow Drive because we talked to a person that was measuring the street for sidewalk. So there's that idea too. So I can't see where you're going to have room to put 2 cars, one in front of the other on that their property because you're going to interfere with sidewalk if it ever gets built there. And I'm sure it will be built there because more and more people are using the streets to walk and go on. I have another couple of questions. Height of the building. So the building's going to be 2 stories high plus the roof. So are we putting a 412 pitch roof on that building? By the looks of it, I'd say it's going to be 812 or maybe even 912. So that's going to put the height of that building well above the people that live behind it. So they have single dwelling homes, so they got a 9-foot wall and a 412 pitch or a 512 pitch on the roof. So it's only roughly 13 feet tall, where the corner of those buildings that you're putting up are going to be 18 feet high, and then you're going to put a roof on top of that, so you're going to be roughly another 8 to 9 feet high on the front of those gables. So they're really going to obstruct all their view that they have, and the sun that was going in their backyard is not going to get there anymore. So I don't really feel it's fair to those people on North River Road or anything like that to have that. Plus, it's definitely not fair to the guy that lives next door to have that tall building right there blocking all the sun that comes up east in the morning right above that building. So you got any idea what you're going to do with the snow removal?
Okay, Willie, can you just, are they your 4 questions? Do you have any more?
There's just questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Parking.
He's
was
taking
one
them
of
down. Yeah.
The height of the building. Sight line to North River Road.
Yeah.
The setback. So is the setback going to be changed from what that house is right now? From the street? Like, I mean, I know if you go to build in different parts of the city, and I've had it happen to me, where you can't put your building back. You got to keep it in line with the other buildings. So,
Okay,
I'm good.
thank you. Mr. Wallace, can you answer those questions?
So, for the first question about the setbacks, so the current building doesn't meet the setbacks for what we're proposing. I think, as Willie said, it's about 8 feet from the property line to the building. The current setbacks for the use that we're intending is 20 4 feet from the building to the rear property line, so it would be set back considerably further than the existing building. And the side is approximately 20 feet from the property line, which is about the edge of the sidewalk to the building. So I can't comment exactly on the sight lines on North River Road on the proposed building, but I assume in the building permit process or this process, the traffic engineers or somebody considers those things, and that's why the setbacks are established as they are. They are different for a corner lot, and that's why they are 20 feet on that corner. On the other side, it's a little bit less than that. And for the front, so again, I'd said the setbacks for the front are 20 feet. And the boulevard space, I can't comment again on that. There'll be 1 parking stall per unit as per the development bylaws. You know, I said perhaps 2 smaller cars could fit in there. And maybe residents will have 2 larger cars and they won't fit in there, and then they might need to park on the street, but these are all things that I can't comment on, what tenants will be there and what vehicles they drive. Or if the city does eventually put the sidewalk through there, then there will definitely only be 1 parking stall as originally intended for the building. And snow removal, as any site, parking lot or whatever, if we do get a lot of snow through the year, it will have to be hauled away, as anyone needs to do in a parking lot or any sort of facility where they run out of room to pile it. And the height of the building, it's just the height of a normal 2-story building. The development bylaws would govern how high we can make the roof. We don't certainly intend it to make exceptionally high, just we want to make a nice looking building, you know, not a especially steep pitched roof. So it'd certainly be well under the bylaw for the total height of the building. And again, I think the height of that building, or the height of the set in the guidelines or the bylaws and the setbacks are considering that shadow that it would cost or cast on the neighboring properties.
Deputy, you're all right? Okay. Michael, that's good. Okay, so the mic is open.
My name is Ken Fallum at 27 Morrow Drive, about 3 houses down. One of the concerns I have is water runoff from the roofs. Right now, on the back of our building, or back my street in Queen Elizabeth Drive along the property line, in the spring, there's almost a river runs down there now. And now you're going to more than double the roof. And I'm just curious, where's that water going to go? And I'm also concerned about property values.
Any other questions, sir? Just the 2?
Just the 2.
Okay. Mr. Walsh, again, speak close to that mic.
Yeah, I think that's a problem in a lot of these older... Is this on? Okay, yeah. Older neighborhoods where there wasn't any consideration to water, often the sites are flat, often they're running back into the building, flooding water into people's basements. Now, the bylaws or through the building permit process, you need to have a licensed survey, create a grading plan, and what to do with that water. So certainly the larger roof does impact the water that's shed off the roof, but you know, the total water that accumulates on the site, I think really when you have a new building, you have an opportunity to shed the water out to the front of the street through proper downspouts, but then also being that a qualified survey engineer needs to develop a site plan that specifically addresses where the water goes and that it doesn't shed onto neighboring properties. And then again, as far as the property value, I'm not qualified to comment on that, but so you can talk to a real estate agent and they could probably advise what a building like this and what it would affect neighboring properties.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy, do you want to just add a little to that?
Thank you, and thank you for those questions. I would add that before the applicant, if they are successful in this process, they will have to have a proper drainage plan signed off by professional engineering service. So that could keep people at a little bit of peace if this does come to fruition. So, and if the planning department wants to add any more to that drainage plan process, but it does have to be signed off by a professional engineer.
Okay. It's open mic. Wednesday night at City Hall. Okay.
It's Ryan McNeil from 29 Moreau, so 2 houses from the property in question. My main concern being is, since it is a rental property, is it going to be turning into like a dorms for UPI since UPI is closed? And further on down the line, are we going to be looking at our houses being probably turned into townhouses? That's my only 2 main concerns.
Mr. Walsh.
So, yeah, the intention is to be market rentals, so, you know, we're not gearing towards any specific person or group. Being the proximity to UPEI, there may very well be students there. Close to downtown, there could be working professionals, young families because of the proximity to school. So I would expect it would be a representation of the general population. They are 2-bedroom units, which I think is the most common rental unit nowadays. It's very hard to find a 3-unit building. And again, we want to have good quality tenants for our own, you know, just because we want to have, want our tenants to be respectful of the building and care for it. So we will be very careful to select the tenants. And in this market, you can certainly try your best to get the best tenants you can to, you know, care for your building. And that, I think, would alleviate neighbors' concerns that, that, you know, that it would cause disruptions in the overall neighborhood when, you know, we'll try to mitigate them, even causing problems for, you know, the neighbors above or below them.
Okay.
And sorry, was there another question with that? I can't.
That was it.
That was it.
It was just one question. Any other questions, comments? Jennifer Perry. But you have to announce that.
I don't even have to announce so.
No. Can you tell us where you work?
No, I can't do that. But I can shed some light on what market rents are. Because I am here. My name is Jennifer Perry, and I live at 32 Morrow Drive, directly across the street. And all of the things that have been said tonight, I am very against this rezoning. For a number of reasons. I don't have any questions. I just am going to chat. So all of the properties that are actually zoned R2 are not used as Zone 2 in that hood. So the property in question, 3 PID 366997, has been a single family home for as long as I can remember. I'm 64. And I knew the people who owned it, and it is an amazing community. And I brought food almost every day to David Larder in the not in the pandemic, but in Hurricane Fiona. And I've had the privilege to live at 32 Morrow for 8 years. Since David sold to the developer and the owner, it has been rented, and it has been a nightmare because with a single family home comes, I don't know, 3, 4 tenants and perhaps 4 cars on a bad day, 3 on a good day. And so since last fall, it has been a parking nightmare. We have been T-boned more than once. I am very impressed with all the presentations so far, and especially the lady, I think her name was Shirley, who is speaking on behalf of everybody in the community. But theory and practice are 2 different things. And so I think, Deputy Mayor, you said it meets the parking bylaw in practice, but in theory it doesn't. In theory, there's not going to be 5 cars, there's going to be 10 cars. And that little street can't handle it. It's a block long. Market, and what market rents do mean is whatever the market will bear. And with a brand new construction, you can set the rent at whatever you want. So just, I mean, I understand densification and this is just the wrong neighborhood to do this. Build a duplex, but do not build a 5-unit on a little plot of land that can't handle it. Parking, traffic, infrastructure problems, water and sewer. I know Willie Doyle, it's just a river runs through it. We've had water main closures, water and sewer doesn't support this. And then we have the lack of, I can guarantee you property values will go down, especially at the top end. And let me see what else I can say. There's just, I can't stress how much this should not be rezoned. That is, and I think most people in this room are from Morrow, and I know it's not vote with Jennifer. It's just not the right project for this piece of land. That's all I have to say.
So just want to make a point, Jennifer, you don't have to give your age. I thought you were in your 50s.
Yeah, sure you did.
Well, I did. Comments? Mic's open. Age is not required.
We have 2 members of the public online, but they don't seem to be able to communicate.
Okay.
My name's Willie Doyle. I was up once, I'm up again.
Willie, it's only one per, that's why I said you had to stand up and give your question.
Oh, Jesus.
But just
Hello?
it's just, again, we're just trying to be fair and equitable. Is
No
it,
one else wants to speak, so I just want to say one thing.
go ahead.
Okay, about the sewer, and
Yeah.
she did bring it up. And it is a big concern because when we have storms that we're getting lately, and that idea, I always have trouble down at my house. And it's because the system can't handle it. So now, instead of having 1 toilet or 2 toilets flushing, you're going to have 10 toilets or whatever going down there and 10 sinks and that idea. So definitely, if they're going to put a 5-unit building there, you better do something with that.
Okay. Todd, did you want to address, if just spread, again,
Yeah, I just want to comment on some issues brought up with the existing building there. And, you know, I can say that those are problems with the existing building. And again, we wanted to improve. I know not everyone here would agree with me, but I feel it would be improvement in the overall community. Again, who's to say, or I can't comment or I can't sway anyone's opinion that it would be positive for those neighborhoods, but I think the overall general greater community, I think it's a positive project. It's in line with what Charlottetown has with their growth plan in a mindful way. You know, it's not contributing to the urban sprawl, which is putting more strain on the city's infrastructure, having to manage more infrastructure out further, and the cost of managing that and emergency services spread out further in the city. So I think this is, again, you know, that densifying is clearly, I think, in generally everybody's opinion, the way to grow a city. People don't want it in their communities, but I don't think it's disputed at all that that's how cities have to grow, is through higher density. And the problems with the building there now, again, that's why we selected that property, because it is a low spec house. It's a flat lot. It is shedding perhaps water to neighbors. We would deal with all of those issues. We would, you know, if there's, if that building attracts low-quality tenants now because it's a low-quality building as it is, we want to improve that by building a high-spec building and attracting good tenants. And, yeah, I guess that was all.
Deputy?
Yeah, thanks. I just wanted to add, in terms of process, the Planning and Heritage Department takes an unsiloed approach at their deliberation, meaning that they work with various other departments within the city of Charlottetown. Before making any decisions, they would reach out to Environment and Sustainability, Public Works, Water and Sewer, in hopes that a lot of the concerns that are asked tonight would be part of the deliberation process and addressed before any approvals or not approvals would come to be. So just thought I would just add that in terms of process. So thank you.
Point of information. Thank you very much. Okay. We have 3 more items on the agenda, so we're going to be a late night. I appreciate it. So if that looks like we're wrapping up, I want to thank everyone for expressing their opinions. Are there any questions of clarification from members of council? Councilor Ramsey.
Yes, Your Worship, just want to remind the residents too, they have till noon tomorrow. Like to email the planning department with their for or against it, because the more that's in there, I guess the more that the planning can sort of look at every aspect of it. Thank you very much.
I'll just repeat that question. Were there 49 letters that went out, Michael Fraser?
I have it here. It'll just be a second.
Yeah. So the question was asked by Jennifer
49,
Perry.
yeah.
49 letters were sent out. Yeah. And again, those letters are sent out to property owners within 100 meters of the property site. That is in our bylaw. Mr. Welch, you want to conclude?
One more comment is I did try to talk to as many residents as I can over the last couple of nights. I'm not sure if I got all 49, but I made every effort to. And I can say that there's a lot of support for the project as well from the neighbors, so.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Hold on. Who's
Are you able
that?
to hear me?
Yes?
Hi. I'm online.
Okay, can I ask your name? Can I ask your name?
Yes, it's Deborah Bryanton, and I live on Moreau Drive. I'm signed on online accidentally as DEBAUB. My mistake. I made an error in trying to input my name. And I haven't used this platform before. I just wanted to add to some of the comments that were made. First of all, to the developer, welcome to the neighborhood. But as you can see, we are very, very proud and honored to live in our neighborhood. So we are concerned when a change as big as this introduces itself. So the concept of 5 versus 2 has already been raised. Our neighborhood is already zoned for duplexes. To jump to 5 is significant. And in spite of what was said earlier about the city not taking this as a precedent, it will be used as a precedent by any further developers. So of course, we're going to be very concerned about this. It had already been raised, the concerns about the traffic access and sight lines. Sometimes it's not easy. As much as we love our neighborhood, when we do have to leave it, sometimes it's not easy to leave. So being able to get onto North River Road can be a challenge. And we can either go up Moreau Drive, where the sight lines are already an issue, or go to Queen Elizabeth Drive, where turning left can be a true issue. So although adding a complex of 5 units with a number of drivers may not seem like an issue, it is already an issue in the neighborhood. I don't know if the city has ever looked at turning on the left turn signal on North Queen Elizabeth Drive, but I think the capacity is there, but it's not used. So sometimes we can sit through a whole light without being able to turn left. Drainage is a huge issue in our neighborhood, and I think Mr. Doyle has already raised this. During any significant storm, the water does get caught in the drainage that's already on the street. And I've been out on the street many times in my bare feet clearing away some of the debris from the drainage system to permit the water to go down into the sewers. So any additional input of houses and drainage from the roofs and so forth coming down the road, because I'm at the other end close to Mr. Doyle, will add to the issues in our neighborhood. And for whatever reason, I can, in spite of many basement interventions, I cannot get a dry basement at my house. So it is significantly an issue. So I would certainly ask council to consider this seriously. Certainly nothing against the developer. I know that they are trying to do good things for Charlottetown and the neighborhood. but there are other considerations to take besides the fact that there are buses there and access to some of the main employment areas. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Councillor Tweel, comment, question? Question.
First of all, I want to thank the residents from Morrow Drive for coming here to the meeting tonight, and equally important, the developer for fielding the questions. In the event, and I know we don't want to get into a hypothetical situation, in the event that council does not approve this particular development, is there a contingency plan? Do you have any other plans for the property? Just trying to be proactive here, that's all.
Mr. Welch?
We've sort of been working hard on this one and haven't really gotten very far on a contingency plan, but yeah, obviously we would need to do something else with it. It's not, as I was saying, it's not nothing against the tenants who are there, but if they were to leave or future tenants, it is a low-spec building, so it would need a significant renovation to be brought up to a, to have it the property that we would want to own and manage. And again, property is very expensive right now. Rents don't necessarily match what your mortgage would be, so certainly you don't want a position where you're losing money monthly on something like that. So it would need to be increased in some way, probably renovated and a basement suite added, or a duplex building built in its place.
Thank you, sir. Is it a question to clarify?
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, no, okay, go ahead.
Okay,
Be
so-
respectful.
I am. Said it's a question.
Yeah.
So what I'm finding here over the last few months is that developers are building new buildings, and unbeknownst to members of the community, provincial government is coming along and buying these properties to help folks, at the low rental level. And my question is, regardless of what takes place, whether, it's a new build or, what you're proposing or another development, are you committing to longevity that you will maintain the ownership of this property for a number of years? I have to ask that question because this is but Mr. Mayor,
I
this
know,
is
but
very
Councillor
important to
Tweel,
the community.
it's a question of clarification. Again, this happens sometimes. The question that we're trying to clarify is his present development of 4 units, Mr. Welch? 5 units? That's what we're clarifying here. That's the questions. Trying to try to
No, it's
present
not hypothetical. It's a commitment. It's a commitment, Mr. Mayor.
hypothetical scenarios.
It's a commitment because what's happening is, and this is happening, it's happened over the last number of months, where developers are building buildings, the province is coming along, and they're buying these buildings, and they're converting them into not what they were intended for. And I'm not singling you out, sir. I just wanted to bring this to the forefront because this is happening throughout the city of Charlottetown.
Thank you.
I just wanted to bring it forward. Thank you.
Again, councillors, we know that when we have presenters here, like Mr. Welch and the residents, they're talking about their situation at this point in time. And I think, Mr. Welch, you've answered the questions as best you could from the audience. But I have discovered one thing. We do have a drainage issue down there, and I think that has to be addressed, whether it's water, wastewater, or stormwater management. So we better follow up on that, whether it's on the back side or on the front side. Because as the previous presenters, previous resident said that her basement is always wet and because of the drainage in the area. So that's something we have to, so Councillor Ramsey, something to keep in mind. Thank you. Okay.
Previous question about the intentions I don't know anything about these programs, and I can't certainly commit to holding this property for any length of time, but I can say the spec that we will want to build this building to, I don't think would match with any government programs to buy houses. We plan to build a high spec to attract good quality tenants, and I don't think that's the type of building that the province would, I assume, through these programs, would be wanting to buy.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Walsh. Thank you, Michael Fraser. The next, 7 McKinnon's Road. 7 McKinnon Road, PID number 374215. David, you're presenting. And is the presenter owner here? Amr Hossein? Rabare? I don't think he is. It's getting warm. Oh, so, Mr. Robert? You're presenting on behalf? Okay, good. So David's going to present first, and then you can follow up, sir. So Robert Hages is here on behalf of the owner. Is that right, Robert? It is. And correct name, could I ask the correct name of the person?
Amber, I can't pronounce his last name exactly either.
So it's R-A-H-B-A-R-I, Rabari. Okay, Rabari. Okay. David, do you want to go first?
Yes, Your Worship. Jason, could you, I think you might have to disable something there. I can't control the slides. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Okay, all right. Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, members of the public in attendance. The following application is a rezoning request for 7 McKinnon Road, PID number 374215. This is a request to change the zoning of the subject property as follows, amending Appendix G, zoning map of the zoning and development bylaw from low-density residential R2 zone to the medium-density residential R3 zone for the property located at 7 McKinnon Road, PID 374215. And this requested zoning change is intended to allow for construction of a 7-unit apartment building on the subject property. Subject property, as noted, is within the low-density residential R2 zone, as highlighted in red here on the slide. It is currently vacant, containing no buildings or structures. Surrounding the property are R2 zoned properties to the north, east, and west, R3 zoned properties to the south, and institutionally zoned properties across University Avenue to the east, being University of Prince Edward Island, which is shown here. This is an zoomed out air photo of the subject property to show additional context for the site in terms of its immediate surroundings. The following is a site plan that's been provided by the applicant. So the 5-unit apartment building, which is shown in darker gray here, would be oriented at right angles, 90 degrees to McKinnon Road. The main entrance would be here, with parking and site access to the east of the building shown here, with principal access off of McKinnon Road. Next slide are concept floor plans. So again, a basement, top left, second main floor on the bottom, and second and third floors on the top right. And all the units are proposed to be 3-bedroom units. And I'll note for information's sake that in the basement there's proposed to be gym and combined gym and common space for the residents shown here. And there is a proposed elevator that would service all floors of the building. The next collection of slides, there's about 5 or 6, are just the 3D rendered perspectives that have been provided by the applicant and their architect. First slide shows a view looking to the northwest. Next slide is a view looking southwest to the building, southeast. Looking directly east, this would be the back side of the building that faces west. Following is an isometric bird's eye view looking south. Again, the main entrance would be here, and all of the parking spots adjacent to the main entrance in the new proposed parking area here. And the last perspective is a view looking north from the south side of the site at McKinnon Road. As far as our legislative requirements for this evening, on August the 13th, 2024, City Council approved a request to proceed to public consultation. As per section 3.10.4 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, a notification letter was mailed to all property owners within 100 meters, 328 feet of the subject property on September the 6th, 2024, which would meet the minimum 7-day calendar requirement prior to the public hearing date of tonight being September the 18th. In total, 54 letters were sent to residents advising of the public meeting this evening to solicit their comments and feedback concerning the application. To date, we've received no written responses in response to the circulation. However, residents have until noon tomorrow, September 19th, to send any written responses to the City of Charlottetown. At this point in time, the tentative next steps in the process would be to bring a recommendation forward to the Planning Board at their meeting on October the 1st. And after that, Council would take a vote on the application at their regular meeting on October the 8th. So that is a summary of the application and the proposal, and I'll turn it back over to your worship to open the floor to the applicant and any questions that the public may have. Thank you.
Do you wish to say, Mark? So, Robert, do you want to just speak to it, or do you want to just wait for questions to be asked on the owner, Amir Hossein Rabari?
David has done a fantastic job presenting it. I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Any questions or comments? The mic is open, and please just give your name and where you live, whether it's in Charlottetown, Stratford, Cornwall. Age is not required. Looks like it might be a slow night for you, Robert. Huh?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hages. Thank you, Mr. Gundram. Mr. Gundram is still in the hot seat here for the next one. Are you also here for this one too, Mr. Hages, 171? No, the gentleman behind me. Okay. Okay. So next, thank you. The next application, 171-181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385930, 385948, 55, 5177. David, you're presenting, and Carrie Boswell is here to present on behalf of Archwork Studio, correct? Are you Carrie? Carrie, did you just want to come up here and both of you can sit there if you wish. Just if there's any questions from the audience. David, do you want to go first?
Thank you. Yes, Your Worship. So just to provide an overview of the application. Oh, I think, Jason, the slides are hung up again there. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Great. So this is a request to rezone the identified subject properties addressed as 171 to 181 Kensington Road, PID numbers 385-930, 385-948, and 555-177. Request is to rezone them from the existing single detached residential R1L zone to the medium density residential R-3T zone to allow for development of 12 townhouse units on the site. If approved, the request to rezone and develop would also require future lot consolidation of the 3 existing parcels into one parcel under a perimeter deed. The next slide shows a zoning map of the subject properties and surrounding areas. The subject properties are located on the west side of Kensington Road, shown here, as highlighted in red, at the northwest corner of the intersection with Hemlock Drive, and are approximately 80 meters or 260 feet northwest of the boundaries of the Belvedere Golf Course. They are located within the single detached R1L zone as mentioned, and they are adjacent to and in vicinity of primarily existing single detached development. Subject properties are each currently developed with their own single detached dwelling on 3 individual separate lots. The next slide is the site plan that has been submitted to the city in support of the application. I'll just note that this plan has been rotated lengthwise just for viewing purposes. Kensington Road is here to what is actually the east of the site, and then Hemlock Drive is to the south. Again, there'd be 12 row houses proposed as part of the development in 3 separate blocks, 6 units, 4 unit, or sorry, let me get the count here right. 5 units, 4 units, and 3 units, with a new internal road that would have 2 connection points, one at Kensington Road to the northeast corner of the site, and then a connection to the south onto Hemlock Drive. Next couple of slides provide an illustration of the architectural renderings that we've received in support of the development proposal. This first one is an internal view of the majority of the row houses facing west, internal to the site. And the next rendering, this is what is proposed to be seen facing east towards Kensington Road. And again, as you see, this would be one of the new road connections here onto Kensington Road to the east of the site. As per our legislative requirements, on August 13th, 2024, City Council approved the request to proceed to public consultation. As per Section 3.10.4 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, a letter notification was mailed to all property owners within 100 meters of the subject property on September the 6th, which would meet the 7-day requirement for notification of the public hearing this evening on September the 18th. In total, 44 letters were sent to residents advising them of the public meeting tonight to solicit their comments and feedback. And to date, there have been 2 written responses received by the Planning Department. Both responses expressed opposition to the development proposal. And again, residents have until noon tomorrow, September 19th, to send any further written responses into the city. And again, pending the outcome of tonight's meeting, the next tentative steps would be to bring a recommendation report to Planning Board on October 1st, followed by a resolution to Council to vote on the application on October the 8th. That is a summary of the application, and I'll turn it back over to the chair to continue the meeting. Thank you.
Carrie, do you wish to wait for anyone to speak to, or do you want to provide some insight, input?
I think we'll just open the floor per David's presentation.
Okay. So Carrie, and your name, sir?
Tim Phelan.
Tim Vale. Okay. So the mic is open. If you can't get to the mic, we can take the mic to you, if you wish.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Here I am, I have a clipboard. Okay, can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? There we go. There we go, okay. Yes, I think I'm one of the 2 people who have written. I have a couple of questions. The first being, there are 3 zones.
Sir, just one second, Mr.
Oh,
Councilor
I'm
Beck.
sorry, Robert
Just your name and where you live.
Vokey. I'm not giving you my age. Robert Vokey.
And
I live
Charlottetown.
on Kensington Road.
Yeah, thank you.
And yes, there are 3 lots. I'm talking about consolidating the lots. The middle lot, which I guess you could recall, presently has a 4-unit low-rent apartment building on it. And I've talked to tenants, and they're very nervous about the idea of that, their home being demolished and being able to find alternate accommodation. They've been living there in some cases for a number of years and paying in the range of $700 to $800. I'm very uncomfortable, I must say, with this low quality, high quality tenant talk. I've been living across from there for the last 12 years. There's nothing that would give me the impression that any tenant there is a low quality tenant. The owner may have a different point of view, but from observation from me. So my understanding is we're trying to increase density on major thoroughfares. Well, in this case, we already have a 4-unit apartment building on one of those lots. And ideally, we would keep a 4-unit apartment building on one of those lots. But actually what we're talking about is tearing it down and putting up a high-end expensive and removing 4 affordable units, which I would question as far as a social policy for the city and some of the stated objectives in the new city plan that the ink is hardly dry on. This is contrary to that, where it states clearly that we should have affordable housing at points throughout the city. And here we are, right in smack in the middle of that neighborhood. We do have affordable housing, and we might lose it. So that is a concern for, I think, the council. I hope the council and the planning board would take in consideration when they're reviewing this. I think some of the points that were brought up for Morrow Drive, you could cut and paste them for this. And given the time that was given there, I think for the planning board, they might, parking, snow removal, all these various other issues would apply in this case too, because we have 12 townhouses, 1 garage for each, a laneway. People have more than one. There's nobody in my neighborhood that has fewer than 2 cars. So magically, maybe the people who rent there are the only people around who will only have 1 car, but I think that'll be an issue for snow clearance, for traffic. We already know that Kensington Road at that point is basically a speedway. People from Walker Drive to Riverside go at unbelievable pace, both directions. So to add another entranceway onto Kensington Road there is a bit of an issue. The third point is a question. In the city plan, there's some guidelines for the design of townhouses. Some very interesting and quite thoughtful guidelines for the design of townhouses. That I don't see reflected at all in the renderings, although they may just be a draft. I would like to ask the city planners, are those guidelines in the new city plan, revised city plan, do they have any substance? Is it something that should be respected in the design of a property? That would be it for me. I know that there's other residents who live closer who might have very, very specific questions, but those would be my 2 main ones. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Yep, just stay right there. Do you wish to answer, or David, do you wish to answer the issue on, or do you want, Madam Chair, do you want to go through that? Okay.
Yes, Your Worship. The question regarding the design guidelines. So currently, under the current process we do have a design review board that would review projects for their external appearance, whether they're adhering to these architectural guidelines that we have in our zoning bylaw and our official plan. However, that only applies to properties that are in the 500 lot area, which this property is not.
David, just one second.
Sure,
Sir,
sure.
we can take the mic to you if you, okay, he's just going to finish. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, the design review
Sorry,
process
David.
I was referring to, that those guidelines, I believe Mr. Vokey is making an allusion to, those only trigger if you're in the 500 lot area and if the development proposes affordable housing units, which this one does not. So all of those guidelines, while we love to see them implemented where we can, there are criteria around where we can trigger them, and unfortunately this development is not one where we can trigger those at the present time. So.
Oh, yeah, is it, that's why you're
Through the chair, Mr. Vokey, they trigger if the property is in the 500 lot area, which this one is not.
That was the city council that decided that.
Well, those policies that we currently are in documents that have been previously approved by city council, not this version of city council, but they are council approved documents that we have to use currently. And again, if this development did include a proposal for affordable units that meets the definition in the zoning bylaw, then we would have triggered that process, but it doesn't, so we don't have anything to grab onto that way. So.
I would appeal to the city council to reconsider that. Those guidelines are very interesting, and I think they should apply everywhere in the city, not just for affordable housing.
okay. Deputy, did you want to say something?
Sure. So thank you for that concern in terms of some of the city bylaws and documents. It's certainly something that we can take under advisement with the Planning and Heritage Committee through the Planning and Heritage Department as we embark on the changes to our new zoning and development bylaw. But in the cases of this application, even if changes were made going forward, it would not, this application would be based on the existing, but I do appreciate that, and that's certainly something as we embark on the changes to our zoning and development bylaw, can certainly be addressed and looked at, so I appreciate the comment.
Can you do a sound check on the microphone, please? I'm not sure it's coming through here. Don't push anything, just say what?
That's okay.
Yeah, just make sure it's on there.
Your Worship,
We can hear you there.
councillors,
Can you hear him there, Jason? Yeah.
my name is Wayne Gillespie, and I'm proud to be 75.
I'm 65.
Good. My wife and I
Don't
live
listen.
at 6 Hemlock Drive, adjacent to the said 171, 181 Kensington Road. I have the same concerns as a lot of other people, but I'd like to express my own here. I have some concerns about the changing of the zoning of 171 to 181 Kensington Road to build 12 townhouses. Who are the townhouses intended for? Low income, seniors, or students? It would have a negative impact on our quality of life, with immediate negative increase in traffic on 3 sides of our property, along with the noise pollution and safety concerns for our grandchildren, which we've got 7. The environmental aesthetic degradation would change from single detached home to medium density and have 24 more garbage cans, which may attract rodents and affecting the neighborhood overall appeal and cohesion. Allowing this rezoning will set a precedent for other nearby properties to be similarly rezoned, further destabilizing the quiet residential nature of the neighborhood. We bought our home 44 years ago, paying taxes, and like other residents with the understanding we were in single detached residential zone. Changing the zone after we have built our lives around this present zoning just seems unjust. Changing the zone would erode the neighborhood's character. We don't want an access road next to our property. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Gillespie.
As I say, I don't have a whole lot of questions, just concerns.
Thank you, sir.
Carrie, do you wish to address any of those?
Thank you for your comments. We definitely take the neighborhood into context whenever we're designing something like this. The units themselves are not affordable housing. The units are going to be 3-bedroom townhomes targeted towards families. And when Mr. Boswell came to us, it was a mandate to encourage growth in that neighborhood and provide something that doesn't exist, and that's housing for families. 3-bedroom townhomes, living room, kitchen, dining, garage, laundry, basically independent living for families as opposed to living in apartments. And it is our opinion that change is good, diversity is good, density is good, and I think the development itself is going to do nothing but increase value in that neighborhood. And Mr. Boswell's a good developer, and in my opinion, it's definitely something that is just in that area.
Thank you very much for your concern. I still have concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Carrie, again, your partner just has to announce his name so that we can just give your full name.
Tim Phelan.
Yeah, Tim Phelan.
Hi, it's Debbie Sullivan. I live on Bulger Drive. Just the end of my house is facing.
Debbie,
There's on. I live on 37 Bulger, which the end of my garage points towards the development that's going to happen. I'm just wondering if they're going to be rentals or they're going to be purchased. Like, is it going to be a rent to own? What type of resident is it going to be? To see what, that's just one curiosity question. If a single family right now, there's already a fourplex there that you own, and there's a duplex behind me and a duplex on the other side. I figured it would probably be a duplex going in when that house came down. I never dreamed there'd be a 12-unit townhouse, so it's a little bit of a concern with the traffic. I know trying to get out of Bulger Drive any given part of the day, as everybody knows, trying to get onto Kensington Road is just a nightmare. And to have to let kids, my kids used to have to cross that street to go to school because they wouldn't put a school bus down there. And it was a concern every day that those kids walked across there. So Bulger Drive has always been. And now with the construction going on by the bridge, everybody's trying to get over to Stratford, and some of them are making their way out Kensington Road to take a right to go over towards the hospital, get in the line to get across the bridge that way. So just kind of traffic and was kind of my concern. If you could do something with the duplex behind me, the eyesore I have to look at when I look at my kitchen that isn't yours, it'd be nice. I wouldn't mind there being another duplex. I'm just saying.
just your name. We didn't get your name because the mic was off.
Debbie Silva.
Thank you, Debbie.
I've been at Bulger for like 38 years, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carrie, Tim, do you wish to respond or just, good?
So do we know if they're gonna be sold or are they
No,
gonna be rented?
right at this present time, they're going to be rental units.
Okay.
That's what I'm
And
proposing.
there'll be rental units, Jason. Rental units, Carrie? Yes. At market value. Okay, so the mic is open, just come right up, and I believe just check to make sure it's on. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Ramsey, you're doing a great job as a technical assistant tonight.
Hello?
There we go, so we don't need to touch the button ever again.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Hi, my name is Barb Hambley. I live at 183 Kensington Road.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, we're going to have to change this system because this is not, yeah, this is not your issue, that's ours. So can you just repeat your name, please?
My name is Barb Hambley. I live at 183 Kensington Road. I'm no intentions of getting up here.
Okay.
You can't hear us?
Not your fault.
You try battery.
Red lights.
This is every meeting, every meeting. No, get a new system.
Let's try battery. Okay, back.
Okay, we'll just take a break here for a minute. You could do, if you don't mind, you could just go sit here and we'll put the mic over. I think that's what we're going to do. No, John, she'll sit next to David. Just sit next to David. Yeah. Give us your name again.
Okay, here we go again. Take 3. Can you hear me? My name is Barb Hambley. I live at 183 Kensington Road.
Thank you,
next
Barb.
door. I've lived there since like 1973. I'm very concerned about this building. I had no idea there's going to be a road right by my bedroom. I can hardly get out of my driveway for the traffic on Kensington Road. I can't imagine having that many more vehicles trying to get out. I'm really concerned if it is a rental, because Mr. Boswell didn't really take care of the rentals before. And it's my children's heritage. I'm afraid if my property value is going to go really down. And I think that's all I have to say.
Could you just stay there, Mr. Boswell, or Tim, do you want to respond, or?
Not if there's no initial questions.
David, any response? Deputy, you're all right? Okay. Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak? Yeah. 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 Sir, don't use that mic. Just sit next to David. Yeah, we'll give you the real mic.
Yeah.
Have a
You
seat
might
there.
not even need that mic.
No, we need it for the public record. We need it for the public record.
I can tell you how.
Yeah. Just give us your name and we, yeah.
He knows, Trevor knows, I don't need a mic.
First, your name, your
Coming
name.
out on this here,
No, sir, your name and,
Robert McFadden, 5 Hemlock.
thank you.
My concern is, coming out on Hemlock, it's just gonna be a zoo, trying to get out, people coming in, and Mrs. Hambley, it's gonna be a real zoo for her too. Developer, I got no problem with the developer, but I think, I don't know, it should be a little, either a lot, not 12, could be 8, or 6, or whatever, but there's gonna be too much traffic in and out. Trying to get out on Hemlock is gonna be a zoo. Getting out on Kensington Road, that's gonna be murder trying to get out there. And, right, what do they go with the snow? That was a real good, are you gonna haul it away? Are you gonna push it out on the damn road? Or are you gonna stack it up? And hey, I just seen that, you only show that picture once. And where are you gonna put the snow? That's my opinion. It's just gonna be too much traffic. And like, we're in that area, we've been there for years. Nice quiet area. Up above, there's a seniors complex. There's a Down syndrome, housing up above, and they're walking down the street, and the seniors are coming down the street from up above Wedgwood, and here, there's more now we're putting more traffic on Hemlock. Now, I fought you guys for a long time when there was no sidewalks there on Hemlock, because they used to see the seniors walking down, and they're like walking in a row because the cars are going by, and then the city put sidewalks in. Now, perfect. Everything's going great. Now the developer's going in. I'm nothing against the developer, but it's just going to put more traffic. The seniors walking down the road there, or the Down syndrome children, it's going to be. I don't like it. So that's my personal opinion, and I hope you guys are listening. And so when you make your decision, just think about it. Come see the residents. Come see the residents around there. Instead of sending us a letter, come on out and talk to us. We're there to talk. And then we can point out all our problems to the developer so they can fix it up. Instead of talking to you, and then you guys are all listening. Talk to the developer, talk to the residents of Hemlock and Kensington Road, all around.
Yeah.
Don't talk, talking to you guys, talk to the people.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Mr. McFadden, thank you. The snow issue, do you want, Deputy, do you wish to address that, Mr.
The snow will be removed as needed if it has to be removed. I mean, there'll be no dumping on the street because that's against the law. You can't do it.
Okay. You didn't hear it? Okay, Mr. Boswell. No. You can't wear your hat in the chamber. Mr. Boswell, can you just repeat that about the
Yes,
snow?
I said the snow will be removed as needed. It definitely will not be dumped out on the street because that's illegal to do that. I'm not able to do it anyway. So, well, you don't have to worry about that, my friend. The snow, like I said, will be removed as needed. That is my plan. Okay? Okay.
Any more questions, comments? Okay, I'm just going to ask, any councillors wish to make comments? Councillor Matard?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just like, first of all, to say thank you to the residents for coming out this evening to express their views on this development. And I certainly will be around speaking with the residents and garnering, feedback on the project as it goes forward. I just have some questions regarding, on one of the slides there, it talks about the backyard, the driveway, I guess. My question around that is that a public city right-of-way, or is that considered part of the development as a driveway? Because there is some parking there, so I'm wondering if this is an extension of adding off of Hemlock onto Kensington Road, and would that be considered a city right-of-way? So that's the first question I have.
Mr.
Put that
Gundren?
to David.
Through the chair to Councillor Matart. So to confirm, this is proposed just to be an internal driveway to the site. The city would not be assuming this as a public road if the development were approved, the rezoning were approved. So this would be just an internal driveway. It would not be built to municipal standards for public works to assume ownership of for the city. So.
Thank you. Just on that slide then, I mean, I was by the property to assess, just visually looking at it and trying to envision how this would potentially even work. And one of the, when I look at the setbacks and thinking about how this, this roadway would go in here and all this parking would be in here, and then these townhouses, to me, it doesn't seem it's even feasible to put all of this in that particular area. Again, I'm just going by the drawings here that were presented here tonight. So certainly, hope that that can be ironed out through the rest of this process. Can anybody speak to that as in, are we jamming everything in this spot to make this happen is the question that I have.
Can I just run that through the
Yeah,
deputy?
sorry.
Deputy?
To the chair.
I'll take a stab at it. I believe the only thing at this stage that they're asking for is a rezoning. I don't believe they are requiring any variances. However, David, you can shake your head yes or no if I'm right, or you can respond. Yeah, so the only thing they're requesting is a rezoning. They're not requiring any variances for setbacks. So the development does fit within the footprint of the space.
Okay, thank you for that, Chair. So to the Chair, if they are just requiring a rezoning, theoretically, that could mean they could come back with any other proposal for this particular property in that case. Is that correct?
Deputy?
So again, I'll take a stab at this. So the application is contingent on what they've applied for the rezoning. So the rezoning application states that they want it rezoned to build this townhouse development. But David, you can refer back, like if the zoning is confirmed and the rezoning is allowed, is this what has to be done, or can they then do what they wish under the R3 T zone?
Yeah, through your worship
Gundren?
to Deputy Mayor Yankoff, that is correct. So what you see is what they intend. which is why they need to switch the zoning to R3T. However, that doesn't hold them to this particular design. However, context is they put a significant amount of time and investment into what they're showing. So it'd be up to, again, the answer to your question is yes. It may not be see what you see is what you get, but this is what their intention is and why they've put in for the rezoning application. But there's nothing holding them to this particular format or layout that you see on the site plan necessarily. But they would be subject to the regulations of the R3T if it is approved by council. So.
Can I follow up?
Oh, yeah, keep going.
So, and I guess the reason I ask that is, you know, looking at this particular rendering, in the event that planning staff do not recommend the particular driveway access point on the back, what would that then do for a redesign of this and putting the parking to the front? You know, in the way there's a sidewalk that's currently there right now, there would not, I don't see how that would be, how to flip this, I guess, and put everything to the front versus everything to the back. As indicated, there are neighboring properties that are bordering this particular property lines on the back. So, you know, I think, and, you know, anyways, I can't say too much here, obviously, but I'm just trying to put it out there and get a better understanding of what the possibilities are here of this changing as a result of some of that. And it may get rezoned, but may not fall within what you're going to allow here. And then what would that rendering come back to and say, okay, well, now we're going to Plan B, and Plan B is this, that, and the other thing. Maybe that's a question for the developer, if they could address that in the event that this doesn't come out the way they hope here. What is the alternative plans?
Mr. Boswell or Justin?
I can respond to that. We've been working with the city planning department on this process now for over a year. The investment into this project is that if everything goes as it needs to go on our behalf, the project moves forward the way it's illustrated. We've consulted with City Public Works. There's been drainage done on this. There's been water. There's been sewer. Architecturally, we're about 50% of our process. We've looked at all the drainage. We've consulted with every city department required through planning, and we've worked very closely with David and his team. The reason why the site is, to respond to Councilor Matart, the reason why it's designed the way it is to encourage driveways not to be accessed directly off Kensington Road, that we do provide a private access at the cost of the owner, as opposed to forcing driveways onto Kensington Road. So there's been a lot of concessions on both ends, I guess, and to make this designed to the intent that it is right now to work. So at this point, to answer your question, there is no alternative design. If things do not go our way on October 8th, then obviously that's the discussion with planning to see what do we do next and where can we go with this.
Thank you. Yeah, I was not aware that this has been in the works for a year or more in discussions with the city and planning. And maybe that's not my business, I don't know, but I wasn't aware of that. But nonetheless, my final question is, goes back to, I know that there's current properties on 2 of the PIDs right now, both of which are rental properties. Is there a plan to, obviously, to remove or dismantle those buildings? Is there a plan to relocate those individuals who are currently renting into those, into these complexes, or will they be displaced? And I mean, I don't know if they'll be displaced and trying to find new housing, which is very tough in a market today. I think it was indicated here earlier, there's a four-unit apartment. I'm not quite sure how many people are living there, but if you just times by 2, there's 8. And then I know the house on the corner has at least a family of 3 or 4. So there could be upwards to 12 people displaced as a result of that. They can't necessarily, so what is the plan for the current tenants in the current properties? Or what is the intention of the current properties, other than the obvious dismantling them?
essentially, the intent of the two properties that do exist would be removed, similar to the third property that was recently tore down.
Great.
Mr. Turk?
Thank you. I'll
Any more?
give another opportunity for another counselor to ask questions. Thank you.
No, you have any more questions? I know on the,
I have
on the
lots
issue.
of questions. I think I'm trying to ensure that, I stay within the guidelines of what I'm doing here. But
Yep, no, if you have more questions.
So, okay, I will continue then on behalf. So when we talk a little bit about looking at these renderings, I want to go back to some of the comments that were made by some of the residents. We talk about certainly an increase in traffic and flow. This entranceway is in and out on both ends. It's not a one-way, so in other words, traffic's flowing in one way and coming out the other way, so you're coming in from both angles. Is that how I read that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. An increase in, I see there's a garbage area designated in this particular rendering, would be up to 24, this is 14 unit or 12, sorry, 12. So 24 new garbage cans introduced in this particular, what is the plan for that particular, is that a boxed in area? Is that a protected area? Or is
Yeah,
just
that
an
would be
open-
like a fenced enclosure.
Okay, and considering, we talked about, I don't want to, the snow removal, a lot of the same concerns obviously brought up on the Morrow Drive would be akin to what is likely in this particular area here. So, I think snow removal, the additional traffic, on that side of the road, there's not a sidewalk on that side of the road, but there is on the other side, close to Robert's property on 5, the sidewalk runs up on that. And there is concerns in that area it's a heavily populated area for senior citizens, and we do have a home at the very top of the street as well that houses, our challenged, individuals. So, I think that those things need to be taken into consideration as well, so. Anyways, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think that this issue of it being in the queue for the last year, that was an operational issue. It was never discussed at our planning board, planning committee. Could you just verify that?
Yeah, the first time that the planning board has heard of this application was at our planning board meeting that moved on to council for recommendation for public consultation. So I think what the applicant is referring to is a lot of times these applications for rezoning take many months when they work with staff before it gets to a stage of even evaluating the application. So if I don't have that correct, but just to confirm, we are coming to you in real time. This is us as counselors just seeing this as the process unfolds itself as well. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, concerns? Yeah. Councilor McAleer?
Yes, thank you. Just a couple hypotheticals, and I don't know if they can be answered, but in context. And David, one, I guess to you, I've gone through some of these processes, and I have no idea where this application is going to end. It's the first step in many steps, but having been through some of these in the past, and they go through this process and go through the steps, and developers, they get they get the approval that they were looking for at the end of the stages, and then there seems to be no action kind of beyond them getting the approval of their plans. So I'm just wondering, is it possible? And I have no idea where this application is going to end up. It's the first step of a process, but if after you're doing your due diligence and your recommendation is to go to the planning committee that it be approved, assuming can you, from a planning point of view, can it be written in that there has to be that if the applicant gets what they're asking for and get approved, that, that there's a window of time where the development has to happen? Is that, and then, I know that's a question to you, and the question to the developer is, the applicant, if this, and it's a big if, like I said, this is the first step of a process, if you are given approval to get to where you want to go, is it your intention to be fairly immediate in getting into the ground and developing it?
Deputy, do you want to answer that first, and then we can ask the developer? Just 1 second. Go ahead.
Sure.
Go
So
ahead.
just to clarify, I think we're on step 4 of the process, starting with the planning staff, moving on to planning board, on to council, and now we're in our public meeting. And so Councilor McAleer is correct. We're at the very, early stages of the process. I don't believe, once a permit is issued, I believe they have, is it 1 year before it expires, David? Or is it 2 years once you get a permit to begin your construction?
Through the chair, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, memory serves me correct, they have, the city may cancel the permit if no action's been taken within 2 years, but it's at discretion of city staff whether to cancel the permit or not if those 2 years have elapsed.
Great, thank you. So that's probably the only question that I could probably accurately answer for you, Councillor McAleer, but I can turn it over to the applicant to clarify the
So
rest of
the
it.
developer can clarify the question from Councillor McAleer.
Yeah, to clarify, the intent is to move with council's approval, obviously. We have about 6 months' worth of engineering and architectural services remaining. Then we'd apply for the building permit. Right now, we're looking at approximately, from my understanding, 8 to 10 weeks for building permits, City of Charlottetown. So within the next calendar year, you would see the groundbreaking for this development.
Thank you. Councillor McTurk, do you want to wrap it up?
I do, thank you. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up the design of the actual renderings that we're seeing here. As you're well aware of the current environment, and we had residents here speak tonight of they've owned homes there for 44 years, and I think another was 38 years, and I'm sure many more have had homes, traditional bungalows, two-story homes, etc. The design of this one, it's quite startling when you first look at it, and I had then brought that back up. I would like to have the developer or the developers, Tim, to kind of walk us through a little bit, like what is the plan? Is this what we're seeing here is what is actually desired to be built here?
Councillor McTurk, this is rezoning.
Okay.
And again, I think the deputy, am I all right to say that? It's rezoning, so all those other factors, David, correct, or elements will fall into place, correct? Because there is a...
So I can't speak to the package and what's in the package regarding the actual development and what they're proposing.
As it says right in the top of the screen, rezoning request for townhouse development, as it process, if we pass it, if it's passed by council, then it will go through renderings and...
So was Morrow
It's an
Drive,
operational issue after that.
was Morrow Drive the same as a rezoning as this is here as well?
It is.
And we spoke in great length on the design. We talked about roof pitches, so I think I'd like to be afforded the opportunity for the
Those were
same.
questions that were brought up by the constituents.
Oh.
That's what I
Okay,
heard from
I
the...
apologize if
No,
I
no.
had a line on my questions. I'm trying to represent the area and get some questions answered, so.
Deputy?
The great news, Council Matart, is that all of these great questions that you have, you are going to have the opportunity to ask those questions at council when and if this comes to final deliberation. And as the chair of the planning board, I invite you to come and ask any questions you want when planning board has this presented at the same time to ensure that you have all the questions answered for your residents.
And the process is that after tonight, it goes back to the planning department. They put together a package that will go to the next planning board meeting. That planning board meeting is not just open via live stream. You can come here, and it's up to the chair to allow you to speak or not to speak. So there are other opportunities to flush it out much more than what we're doing tonight. Councillor Twill. You'll get notice. It'll be, I'm sure that Councillor Martart will have that date, and he'll get it around. Yep. Can I just ask, did you want to say something? No? Good. Okay, Councillor Twill.
I just wanted to follow up with Councilor Martart when he was looking at the conceptual design that's illustrated here on the screen. I guess I have to, I have to disagree. It's what's in the package, and this is a great opportunity with representatives from the developers here, Councillor for the ward is here, the residents are here. This is a great opportunity to answer these questions. And I know what the deputy mayor is saying, he can ask the questions the night that we had the vote, but with all due respect, that's too late. It's a yes or no, and you're faced with, it's either you accept it or you don't. It's too late in the process. We're here, we're trying to gather as much information as possible. We're looking at the renderings. We're trying to understand what the impact and effect of the development will be for the community, and what the developers, they're working through the process. The gentleman said they've been working for the last year. There's still a lot more work to be done, engineering drawings, and I think it's a reasonable question. We've always had that opportunity to ask those questions, all the time I've been here. So why can't we ask those questions with everyone here?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the time.
Deputy?
This is the time.
You wish to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Twill. And, whatever the parameters are within the proper process for what clarification we can ask this evening, the great thing is that today, our council meeting is not your only opportunity. You are welcome to the planning board meeting. Any city councillor is welcome to that meeting, whether you sit on the committee or not. And as chair, I would offer you that opportunity to ask questions at that time as well. In terms of what the actual definition of what we mean tonight by seeking clarification, it's to ensure that any questions that are asked this evening do not offer any bias to what your view is and what you believe to be right or wrong, because the process is not finished. So whether or not your questions are appropriate tonight is probably above my pay grade, but the great thing is we have CAO Mohammed here to ensure whether or not, how far you can go with these questions, as well as for Councilor Matart. And so if we can't get them clarified by David, our manager of planning, or our director of planning, we also have our CAO here. So I'm not saying yes or no.
No.
I'm just saying, I don't know how far we can go.
Deputy, if I can just intervene, public consultation is for the public. Morrow Drive, neighbors asked about those questions regarding design, pitch in the roof, and so forth. That's what we're here tonight. Tonight, as councillors, we're here to get clarification from the comments made by participants in this public consultation. But there will be an opportunity to come to the planning board meeting, and that will be advertised, and then there will be an opportunity again when we meet as a council to discuss whether it's a yay or a nay. So I think we have to move on, because it is now 9:20 and we still have one application left, but I'll let Councillor Matart wrap up.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to make one clarification. I mean, I simply just asked the question for the developer to discuss and explain the renderings and the actual design. I'm not asking specific questions about it, whether it's right, wrong, whatever the case may be. I simply was wanting an opportunity for the developer and Tim to discuss that. It's in the package. It's presented to the public. The public, although they may not have directly asked a question about it, I guess I asked on their behalf of what the drawing and renderings would look like. If we're not willing to address that, and it has to be done in another manner, then I guess I'll wait till that time. But I will agree with with Councillor Tweel, by the time I get to ask that question out, it's too late at that point. We're just in a vote situation at that, and the public doesn't get the opportunity to answer it. So I didn't think it was off base asking a question for them to discuss the renderings that are in there.
There will be a planning board meeting, and the planning board meetings are very open, and the chair is very open to allow anyone to speak from the gallery. Councillor Beck?
Yeah, thank you for that, Your Worship. I think I do have to agree with Councillor Matarda and Councillor Tweel on this. I think what happens during public consultations is things come up that we never foresaw, or information is brought to light that we hadn't previously considered. And, you know, we have people from the neighborhood who have taken 2.5 hours out of their time to come in here, and I think it's incumbent upon us and the developers, excuse me, I don't want to forget you over there too. But I think it's important that sometimes when these situations do crop up, where newer questions or clarifications come up, and I think this is an appropriate forum to do that. So I would, just from my personal perspective, I would tend to agree with Councillor Tweel. And
I appreciate that, Councillor Beck, but again, the renderings are completed by architects. I know that Mr. Boswell and a partner are here. Again, we will have the opportunity at the planning board meeting to discuss this with the residents if they wish to ask questions at that planning board meeting. So I'd like to move the process along tonight. Deputy?
Yeah, and I just would encourage the developer to also ensure they are at the planning board meeting. So in case any of the other councillors want to come that evening and ask questions, that they have the developer, the applicant as well in the gallery at the same time. So thank you.
Thank you. We're going to the next application. Thank you very much. On address parcels adjacent to 55 Pope Avenue. Again, David Gundrum. David, I don't know if we have anyone here from Tiny Tots Daycare?
Through your worship, they're aware of the meeting tonight. I'm not aware that they're in attendance.
Okay, can you make the presentation? And
Sure.
David, just before we do that, Councillor McCabe did send in a text about the McKinnon Drive development. Is there a second exit? I'm looking through my plans, how we're always, I know since Hammond, the fire at Hammond Plains. Is there a second exit for that development? Oh, wait now, the deputy has breaking news.
No, in the report, you'll see that that's one of the shortcomings, is that there is only one access point for that street.
And that's not required by fire to have that?
That's a great question.
Okay.
That's a great question for clarification.
Could we look into that, David or Mike, please?
Yep, through the chair, we'll note it in the minutes, and
Thank you.
we'll forward that concern on to fire, yep.
Can you present the next item, 55 Pope Avenue, PID number 452839?
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And just for clarification, this application, it's for unaddressed properties adjacent to 55 Pope. So it's the two unaddressed properties shown here, which actually front onto Brackley Point Road, PIDs 1173640 and 1173657. This is a request to rezone the identified properties from single detached residential R1-L zone to the institutional zone to allow for the expansion of an outdoor amenity area and parking areas which are associated with an established commercial daycare center, which is the Tiny Tot Early Education Center, which is shown here on the air photo of this structure here, which is located at 55 Pope Avenue, PID 452839. The subject properties are located along the east side of Brackley Point Road, which are on separate parcels but physically contiguous with the site at 55 Pope Avenue, which contains the existing commercial daycare center. Again, the proposed rezoning is to harmonize the zoning with the parent site to the east here to bring these two parcels within the institutional zone to allow for an expansion of the daycare use on this site for parking and outdoor children's play area. The sites are located within the R1L zone. They're adjacent to and in the vicinity of primarily existing single-detached residential development. The two subject properties are currently vacant and contain no buildings or structures at the present time. The next couple of slides are just screen caps that we took from Google Street View. They are dated, but they still show the site generally as it exists presently. This is a view looking west from Pope Avenue at the bend in the road. The existing structure containing the daycare is shown here. The existing outdoor children's play area, which is fenced in here, and the existing parking area shown here. The next photo, again from Google Street View, shows essentially the open field where the two parcels lay right here. Again, the intention is to expand the parking area to the west and also provide for an extended outdoor amenity space for the children attending the daycare. This is a copy of the site plan that we received, and again, as shown, this would be the proposed expansion of the parking area and the expanded outdoor children's play area, which is shown here. In terms of the legislative requirements, on August 13th, 2024, City Council approved the request to proceed to public consultation. As per Section 3.10.4 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw, a mailed notification letter was sent to all owners within 100 meters of the subject properties on September the 6th, which met the 7-day requirement for circulation ahead of the public hearing date this evening on September the 18th. A total of 23 letters were sent to residents advising them of the public meeting to solicit their comments and feedback. And to date, we've received no written responses in response to the circulation. Again, residents have until noon tomorrow, September 19th, to send any written responses into the City Planning Department. And similar to the other applications that were heard tonight, the next steps would be a recommendation to Planning Board October 1st, followed by consideration by Council on October the 8th. So that is summary of the application, and I'll turn it back over to the Chair to continue the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, Chair, do you have anything to say to it? Deputy Mayor? Okay. No, I think that's, any questions, concerns? Oh, good. And Councillor Duran, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here. Thank
Okay,
you.
Do you have any questions about this property? Just,
No,
you're good? Okay, Councillor Beck.
perfect. Thank you.
I don't have any particular issue with what is intended here. I think that's been a long-standing, well-needed, and we've all identified the need for daycare centers around, so I don't want to preface my comments with that. I'm just wondering, this is an application to rezone from R1L to institutional, correct, Dave?
Through the Chair, that's correct.
Okay. I'm wondering if, is there benefit, or is it possible, or should we consider changing it to a site-specific exemption for that lot? And my rationale for asking that is I would like to not lose the ability in a predominantly residential area to lose the ability to revert back to an R1 residential lot. So we're still accomplishing the same goal with Tiny Dots Daycare. We're not precluding them from moving ahead with what they need in order to better operate their facility. But at the same time, we're not changing the institution. So let's say Tiny Tots Daycare closes shop some point down the road. Now the land is institutional. And with institutional, anything could go on in a, and I'm just trying to understand that to see whether this is possible or not. So that would be my only question or cause for concern. And maybe if you could answer those questions for me, Dave. Is it doable, I guess, first of all? And could we consider it, or even would it make sense to consider a site-specific exemption instead of a total zoning change? Maybe I'll direct that through to David, Madam Chair, if that's okay.
So what I can say is that if this application is successful, once it is zoned institutional, I don't think you can put anything in a development agreement that would stop any other institutional use.
No, that's-
However, that's a great, other second part of your question was whether or not this could be changed to a site-specific. I'm guessing that this is the application process to which they chose to go down this road. However, I'll let David answer the rest of that to ensure you get full clarity of what you're
We'll
asking.
defer to David Gundrum. Mr. Gundrum.
Through the chair, address the question to Councillor Beck. I guess what happened here was the applicants applied for the rezoning on the advice of the city in this case. They asked the question. We advised that it would make sense potentially to just harmonize the zoning and make it the same, because if this were to be approved, they'll have to apply for a lot consolidation as well, to consolidate the lots together under one parcel. That's the intent here, because they want to take full ownership of it as one site. To answer the question, the intent and purpose, the end goal would be the same, whether they go through the rezoning or they do a site-specific within the R1L. We're not too far along that we can't go back to the applicant and say, hey, this has come up during the public meeting, would you be open to that? We left them with the options, and they elected to do this. There's option A, option B. They took option A, which was the rezoning. We said site-specific is a possibility here. But
You did say to them that site-specific was a possibility?
we said that here's the two options you can pursue, but harmonizing the zoning might make more sense, but we'll leave it to you to make the call on what you want to apply for here.
Okay.
We can put it back to them, and I don't think we're so far along. Like, in my professional opinion, if they switch course and alter their application to site-specific, the intent of the application is still the same. So I wouldn't be of the opinion that we would have to do a whole recirculation and
Yeah.
bring this back to a second public meeting, because the intent is still identical. It
Yeah,
would just
and
be-
I don't want to stop the project from going ahead. That's not my intent either. I think it's value added to the city, and I think it's a worthwhile project to pursue. I guess I just wanted to consider kind of all options. I mean, we can't forget, here we are talking about housing supply on all of our applications here tonight, each of the previous three, and we're not considering housing or potential housing. I mean, we're housing our darling little tiny tots, that's at least temporarily, which is very important. Anyway, if I'm good with that, Dave, if you could talk to them about it and see whether that's something that could be revisited, and it's going to come back to our planning board anyway, and maybe just have a second discussion and see what they think.
Yeah, through the chair, after tonight, we can put that to them and see, and leave it to them what they want to do.
Yep.
If they want to maintain the application as is, or if they want to switch it and do site-specific
Yeah.
in place, so.
So just to clarify, if they do go with what Councillor Beck is suggesting, site-specific, we don't have to call another public consultation because it's a different application. It's not the same that's on the table right now. That is You're institutional, correct?
Through your worship, I'm just out of an abundance of caution, I would seek an opinion from our lawyers on
Yeah.
that, just to make absolutely sure. Professionally, I'm of the opinion that the intent and purpose of the application would be exactly the same, no matter which route you take. It's just, as Councillor Beck noted, the outcomes in the long term can be very different, and one affords a lot more potential flexibility on the housing side versus the rezoning wouldn't allow for that. So that's something that has to be taken into consideration. For that reason, I would seek a legal opinion just to affirm what I've said tonight, or refute it, so, yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for your participation tonight. It was a long night. I just have to close the meeting. We need a motion. No, there's no business. Any new business? No new business. Motion to adjourn, Councillor Matard, second by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. All those in favor? Councillor Drawn, yea or nay?
Definitely in favor.
Councillor Duran.